Now I want to actually write the client code sending this request and response instead of actually using browser. Typically your client is not supposed to be a browser. You're going to actually write the standalone code or even web application playing the role of the client. So we like to actually send this basic authentication scheme in the programming way. So that's what we're going to actually talk about here. So HTTP authentication support in client. So basic authentication and basic non-preemptive authentication, digest authentication, universal authentication. So basic authentication is basically what we just observed using a browser. So authentication information is sent with each HTTP request and must be, typically again you want to use it over SSL because password is in base 64 encoded, which is not really a secure scheme. Now we have what is called the basic non-preemptive authentication. Okay, so what it means is that the authentication information is added only when the server refuses the request with the 401 status code, and then request is repeated with the authentication information. Yeah, so this is basically what the browser does. It tries to actually access the resources, and it gets the 401 status, and then it will send the username and password. Okay, let's see, the difference is, yeah, so this is the case that it's actually send the username and password even from the beginning. So that's the difference between the two. Digest is sending digest. So this does not require the usage of SSL because no password is sent over the net. You are basically sending digest the information, and the server will compute the digest, and if they match, that means the user is authenticated. Universal means combination of basic and digest authentication. So let's take a look at the code. So example 1. So here we are going to have we're going to actually use HTTP authentication feature class and the basic builder, and we're going to use non-preemptive, so which means we're going to actually use this guy, non-preemptive scheme, and then we're going to create the credentials. So this is username and this is the password and build. Okay, that's one example. Another example is, we actually create the response. So we create the so first of all we create the authentication feature object, and then we are going to create a target and request, and then we set the property of username and password like this. Okay, so either scheme seems to be fine. Okay, actually how this authentication example 2 is being used here. Okay, so I'm a little bit confused on how this is actually being used in this example, but yeah, we'll actually see in an example code. Okay, so exercise 3. So exercise 3, we are going to take a look at how client code can be. So here, so here we are already running these security annotations, the server application, and that is the code that we already have seen. This is 2. I want to actually go to exercise 3, which is the client side. Okay. So here we're going to actually run the client application and see what happens. So this is the client code. So right click and run as and Java application. Okay, and it should be, I don't know what is the main method. Okay, so main method. Okay, so here we are going to Java application and the main. Alright, so we're gonna call it. Okay, so here try to access resource accessible to everyone. So it's all 4.4. That means we have not actually what is the application is supposed to up and running. So we'll actually see the code. The one that we are using. We need to have a web.xml file application up and running. So I need to have this guy up and running. Since we restarted, this is not running anymore. So I'm going to actually run this guy and restart. Okay, now let's actually run the client. application, run as, and Java application, and main class. Okay, that's better. So it's accessing resource available to everyone. So it got 200. So it just get the public access. There is no username and password, and then it's trying to access the resources accessible to user, and the username and so this time it's actually sending a sang and sang. That worked okay, and then it is trying to access resources available to sang using username and password, and we should actually receive 43, which is what's expected, right? And then we are going to access everyone, and okay, so we're actually trying Mary and Mary. So Mary and Mary should be able to access public resource, the user resource, as well as admin resources. Okay, so if you take a look at the code, so this is the code. We are basically using HTTP authentication feature class, which is from Glassfish. And then we are going to use a non-preemptive client scheme, and we provide a credential. Initially we are using sang and sang, and then we create the client configuration. We send the so basically we are registering it, okay, with the client configuration, and then we are basically accessing the resources, okay. And then we are actually trying Mary and Mary. So now we are using Mary and Mary, okay, and we are doing the same thing, and it worked fine, okay. All right, so that is that. We are going